Today on the TMZ Podcast.
Welcome to the TMZ Podcast. Harvey Levin here.
Courtney here.
And Fabian here.
Fabian, by the way, is starting his movie podcast
Yes,
today.
congratulations.
Yes,
so
I
exciting.
am. Check that out later.
It is a good day to start that movie.
It really
yes,
is.
it is.
I think,
Lord Almighty.
Maybe the best day ever to start that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we are getting into it, guys. So Will Smith, everybody knows by now what Will Smith did. Slapping Chris Rock for saying something that offended Jada Pinkett Smith and Will. What is going on that people are defending this?
So
That's what's crazy to me is how many actual people came out in support of Will Smith saying that he was in the right, that he was defending his woman. And I was like, it's violence. At the end of the day, it's still violence.
It's assault and battery.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to look at this, right? That
well,
what do you learn as a kid? What do you hear?
Keep your hands to yourself.
No, what's the word?
Oh.
What's the phrase?
play
Sticks.
that.
And stones may
yeah,
break
make
my bones, but words will never hurt
And
me.
that's why under the law, you are not allowed to hit somebody for non-threatening words. You are not allowed to strike somebody. It is a crime to do so. You're allowed to strike somebody in self-defense. If somebody said, Fabian, I'm coming at you right now, and I put my hand up, you can hit me.
Sure.
But if somebody says something that's offensive, there's other redress. And the redress is not physical assault.
So I'm not here to defend Will Smith.
But
there is a but coming.
There's a but. What I'm gonna say is, in my opinion, there is a line. Like if I was with a significant other, like a woman or something, in my mind there is a line that another man or somebody could say with words.
Okay.
They could say something to incite some sort of reaction like that out of me. What Chris Rock said is not that line, in my opinion. I don't think Chris Rock crossed that line. Obviously, Will Smith thought he did. But in my mind, the idea of defending your woman because someone is saying something foul is not outside of the realm of that's totally reasonable to me. And I know it's a crime, and I know like it's there's the law and all that, but just on a fundamental like.
But hold on,
hey,
so if
like,
you go to like a comedy show and you're sitting in the front row and like the comic like picks you out, you're going to like go up on stage and hit the comic? Like when you're at the award show, you know like you're gonna get razzed. Penelope Cruz and her husband like just got made fun of right before that.
Oh my God!
happened.
Did you see Amy Schumer at the beginning of it? She went after everybody.
It was everyone.
And it was hysterical.
So,
by the way.
So it's like when you go to those shows.
But Fabian, let me ask you a question.
You're right. The context matters.
I hear
context matters.
I hear what you're saying, Fabian, about defending your significant other and everything else.
Sure.
So I'm going to give you a hypothetical. Okay.
Okay.
Let's take it back a year. Let's go to the Emmys, and let's say Kim Kardashian is there and Kanye's there, and they are married at the time, right? So let's say somebody gets on stage and cracks a joke and says, wow, isn't it amazing? Kim Kardashian went from being a porn star to a billionaire. And Kanye West was outraged, got up and slapped that person. What would happen to Kanye West?
He would get ripped apart.
Oh, for sure.
In my opinion.
What's the difference, Fabian?
I don't know. I guess there is no difference. I mean, it'd be the exact same situation. I mean, are you saying that? Are you proposing that Kanye would be
arrested? Maybe
you think he'd be dealt with differently? Why?
Why? Because people don't.
Because he's Kanye.
Because this has nothing to do. In my opinion, this has nothing to do with the act of committing an assault and battery.
It has to do with Will Smith.
It has to do with how much the Academy likes you.
And people at large love Will Smith. He is a beloved figure.
But after this really tarnished his life.
It did.
But
for me.
You know what? It tarnishes it for a week, and then it'll be back. This is one of those moments in time.
But this didn't kind of concern you to see him snap like this? That's what it was just jarring to me. Because it's Will Smith. You think he's always calm, cool, and collected.
No, remember he slapped that guy.
Well, that was
you're
when
right.
the guy,
that's a good.
Remember
on the
that?
red carpet.
But
He
that guy
slaps.
Remember that?
For a kiss.
Yeah,
the
you're
journalist. But that's the guy who always plays a
True, but I guess the truth is Will Smith. I'm not going to call him a real one because that's not the right term for this. But he is not afraid to let his hands fly. He's just.
So can I give you one more hypothetical?
Sure.
Okay, so Regina at the early on made a joke about bringing all the single guys up, right?
Yes, she did.
And then
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, right. And then at one point she said, "Hey, Will, you can be in the situation, right? Why don't you come up?" And what she was inferring.
She invoked Jada's name.
Right.
In that. She said Jada. I think Jada approved.
Another
joke about their relationship with is a running gag in Hollywood these days.
Could he go up and slap her?
No, and here's the thing, though. I want one other little layer to this because there's so many layers. There is history between Chris Rock and Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. When Chris Rock hosted the Oscars, I believe it was 2015 or 2016, and during his opening monologue...
It was 2016.
Was it 2016? Okay, so he cracked a joke at Jada's expense, who was not there in the audience. He said, Jada is protesting the Oscars this year because Will Smith was not nominated because there's a lack of diversity. And then he kind of said, yeah, that's all great and everything, but Jada... like, you protesting the Oscars is like me protesting Rihanna's panties. I wasn't invited. And he basically kind of seemed to be saying, you guys weren't invited.
No, they have history.
And not only that, there's one other little nugget, too. A few years ago, I believe, or somewhat recently, Will wished his ex-wife a happy birthday publicly on Instagram. Seemingly nice, right? Chris Rock got in the comments and said, wow, your wife must be super understanding, or something to that effect. And the ex-wife then replied, don't hate. So Chris Rock has been poking the bear for a while. So I think that was another level.
Maybe Chris Rock is Chris Rock is totally out of line. I totally get it.
Sure.
Just think about this moment. This is the Oscars.
Yeah.
During the MTV Music Awards, which is much lesser than. Kanye West hijacked that and went up when Taylor Swift won.
Yeah.
And people went insane, and he didn't do anything violent.
Yeah.
So in the middle of the biggest event for movies in the year, he hijacks the event.
No, for sure. And like, listen, again, I'm not defending Will Smith. I'm just saying that there's a side of the argument that what Will Smith did was, just good old fashioned men defending their women. And I sort of, a part of me sort of understands that argument. What's crazy to me, though, is the fact that the Academy let him. He won Best Actor afterward.
I was so excited when they did it. I was like, he has to win. I need to hear this.
I knew he was going to win, but the fact that they let him get up there after an assault and battery, they broadcast an assault and battery. They let him get up there. He makes this bizarre speech.
By the way, and not an apology, a justification for what he did.
Yes.
He justified it. He says, I am a protector. He was crying. He was saying, like, God. He was invoking God. He said, God wants me to do this.
Right.
God wants me to.
I know. That was so odd
so
to me.
weird. He apologized to the Academy,
but not to Will,
not to Chris. I just thought it was bizarre that the Academy actually allowed him to even get up there, and they should have said, Will, get out of here. Somebody can accept on your behalf. You cannot be on stage. And then afterward, the Academy comes out and says, we do not condone violence. Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
You co-signed it by letting him get up there. Sorry, I'm spitting all over the place.
I know you are. I'm trying to dodge it.
And by the way, it's one thing to say, why not condemn violence?
Yeah.
I mean, because they don't want to do it because it's Will Smith.
You're right.
But if Chris Rock wanted him to leave, do you think that then the Academy would have been like, hey, well, you have to go?
No.
No?
No, because it's Will Smith.
That's another thing, too. Chris Rock, I mean, he's obviously being the bigger person here. He took the high road. First of all,
he totally took the high road.
He took the high road.
He
and first of all, jaw of steel on that guy. He took
the
hit
kidding. It was quite a hit.
It was quite a hit. He took.
He bitch slapped him.
That was crazy. I honestly thought it was fake. I thought the whole thing was a skit.
I was trying to call you. You were writing.
It was crazy.
I thought, did I just see it? And I'm calling Charles, and
I was texting with Charles.
I know, and I was told Courtney's blowing on my phone.
Because he was like, it's fake. I was like, it's not fake. Did you see Chris Rock? He's not that good of an actor.
Can I just one more thing? When you mentioned the Academy?
Sure.
So Will Smith gets up and is allowed to do a speech after doing that. Kanye West has been banned from the Grammys.
I know, he can't even perform.
For what he said.
You're right. There's a double standard there. And I think there is something to what you said about the fact this is Will Smith specifically, and the fact that he is this golden boy in Hollywood.
Well, did you notice
right.
It's picking and choosing.
His speech was so long. They cut off many other people's speeches, but they gave him the entire time that he wanted to speak. They never played the music, and I was like, that's odd.
No, it was. By the way, I wasn't planning on doing it in this order, but the spirit's moving me right now to talk about this. Because you know what this connects with?
What?
Bill Maher.
You know what?
You're not a little bit of masculinity.
You're not wrong. But if you're going to defend Bill Maher and toxic masculinity, then you have to kind of defend Will Smith. Because what Will Smith did is the personification of toxic masculinity. In my opinion, a little toxic masculinity is not terrible sometimes. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what Bill Maher is saying. So, look, let's get into it.
All right.
But let's just play a little bit of this, because what Bill Maher was doing was using Zelensky as an example, not saying toxic masculinity is a good thing, but a little is, he said.
Look, you can go on about how masculinity is itself toxic, or you can be horny for Vladimir Zelensky, but you can't do both. If you haven't noticed, the internet these days is filled with posts like, every woman in your life now has at least a small crush on Zelensky, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. If I'm being honest, Zelensky gives me a lady boner. Badassery is sexy as fuck, and I want to bang Zelensky. Could it be that as much as women may want to create the perfect man, there's always going to be a little bit of toxic mixed in with our masculinity, and no amount of training will turn us into your favorite Twilight character?
So what do you think?
So,
It's completely different from Will Smith. You can't
Is
respect
it?
one another because Zelensky is like actually doing self-defense. Putin invaded his country and he's defending it.
No,
like
sure.
Will Smith went up and like
It's-
smacked him. Like it's
she's
self-defense.
right. She's
and,
right.
and that's why he's so hot. President like Zelensky has always been there.
I just feel like-
but it's like how he's like stepping up to defend his country.
You're not wrong, but I feel like, speaking of picking and choosing, this is us picking and choosing. At what we're kind of drawing a line. At what point does toxic masculinity go too far? Some people will say what Will Smith did was toxic, was just him being a man. That was just a man being a man.
No,
that's so gross.
That's
No, but
toxic
Fabian-
masculinity.
Fabian
but here
and I-
you guys are saying, oh no, but on the Zelensky
No.
side of things, oh Lord,
He's,
we're good.
I'm
On the Zelensky side of
I'm
thi-
kind of agreeing with you.
we can't pick and choose
Well,
here.
no, you
it's
can't.
toxic masculinity.
No,
different.
I'll tell you why you can pick and choose. What Bill Maher is saying is you draw a line, and the line isn't 0% toxic masculinity. That remember he said in what we just played, a little toxic masculinity is something he says women find appealing. You may
that's
agree-
just nature.
No,
I mean,
but hold on.
you know.
He said a little. So by definition,
Okay.
there's a line. I mean, you can't kill somebody.
No, you're right.
So then
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you go backwards on that line, where is
Where?
that line? And
Right.
I think what some people would argue, boy, it's hot in here.
It
isn't
is.
It's a little warmer. We're all fired up today.
I think what people would argue is that Will Smith was on the wrong side of
He
the line,
crossed the
and
line,
Zelensky
sure.
is on the right side of the line.
Yes.
Because and look, let's face it. I mean, when Zelensky said, "I don't need a ride, I need ammo," that
was a game changer.
it's sort of
Yeah.
Renee Zellweger
I mean, I'll even
and
admit,
Jerry
that was-
Maguire. You had me at
That-
ammo.
that
Yes.
was- I'll even admit, as a heterosexual man, that was hot.
It
And I
was
didn't-
As
really
a
hot.
heterosexual
No.
man.
That's my toxic masculinity speaking right
No,
there.
it was like, I mean, and it's a really interesting point that he's making. And then he went on to say that there were studies that women and men are having sex less than they ever did in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
And
It's part of a larger conversation.
well, his theory is it's because that you have so
Emasculated men.
That's what he's
Sean
saying.
Penn said something similar recently. Did you see Sean
What'd
Penn's
he
comment?
say?
Sean Penn said something to the effect, he was talking about, and this is very controversial, but he was talking about how we're dressing up men in dresses these days, invoking Harry Styles, like all this type of stuff. And Sean Penn was like, yeah, like essentially saying men just aren't men anymore. So again, that's all toxic masculinity. And I guess to your argument is that Will Smith just crossed that line of like, the thing is to me, like, again, I also feel like,
It was a joke.
like, yeah, I mean, it's like, have you ever been in a bar fight? Oh, yeah, you haven't been in a bar. Have you ever been in a bar fight or any type of fight? I've been in a bar fight. When I was like younger,
I don't
in my
remember being in a
early
bar
20s, I was in a bar fight. It was involved a woman. And
by the way, I believe that.
by the way, it
1000%.
wasn't like me kicking ass. It was me getting my ass whooped because,
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was with a small group of people.
I can also believe that.
Yeah, it was a small group of people. I was with a girl I was seeing at the time. Some drunk guy knocked into our table twice. On the first time, we let it slide. We were like looking at him like we thought he was super drunk. He did it again, knocked over our entire table. At that point, I
Get
get up.
security.
No, I get up and I swing on him, and then we're on the floor tussling, and all of a sudden, him and all his boys come out. It's like 8 dudes. He's rolling like 8 guys deep. I had like 2 buddies with me,
And how much
they're
longer did
stomping
you see
on me.
this girl?
She was impressed in the moment, just like Jada
Oh,
Pinkett was impressed, I'm sure. But the point is that, like, in certain moments, you do need to kind of step up and defend your honor, your woman's honor. And I'm not saying that Will Smith was justified here, but I'm just saying I can kind of understand it a little bit, just a little bit.
I hear what you're saying, but
in that case,
does it matter to you that this is at the Oscars?
it does.
It does.
Doesn't it?
It was. I consider that sort of classless. The fact that Will Smith, like, he mustered up
I don't consider it classless. I
You-
consider it
It was classless.
ego. The ego.
It was ego.
The
You're right.
ego of getting out of your seat, walking up on stage,
Yeah.
slapping somebody
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of a live broadcast. That he's a seasoned, incredible actor.
Yeah.
So he knows what's around him. And to get up on
Yeah,
stage
he was making
that.
a point to do it.
Yeah.
He made a point. And that one last...
Lupita's face was my favorite. She was
Oh
sitting
my
right
God.
behind him. She was like, watching.
Oh
I just
my
witnessed.
God.
She was my favorite during the entire situation.
Okay.
Wild.
Look, I want to do one more thing here
Sure.
that I love. So Francis Ford Copolla gave a speech yesterday. It's the 60th anniversary of The Godfather. And he said it, well, he says at the end, and take a listen to this.
And I've never thanked, but the time is due that I do, because it was his participation and his decisions at the end that made it possible. Robert Evans. So thank you, and Viva Ukraine. Viva Ukraine.
He's saying, thank you, Robert Evans. And it's the first time he's ever said that in 60 years.
Yeah.
They have had a major feud. And Fabian, I want you to kind of get into the background, but somebody I know, a guy named Kurt Rappaport, who's one of the biggest realtors in LA,
Right.
became really good friends with Robert Evans. When he was 18. Somehow his family knew him and they became very close. At the end of Robert Evans' life, he gave Kurt a lot of his memorabilia, including 2 telegrams between Robert Evans and Francis Ford Coppola during the making of Godfather 1. First, Fabian, get into what the history is, and then you got to read these telegrams because they're amazing.
So basically, Robert Evans was the former head of production at Paramount. He was the head producer. He was the one who greenlit Godfather to begin with. He brought Francis Ford Coppola on board. It was a battle. Making that movie between these two guys was a complete battle. Robert Evans, there was budget issues, but more importantly, casting. Robert Evans didn't like Marlon Brando. He didn't like Al Pacino. He was firmly against Al Pacino being cast as Michael Corleone. And Francis Ford Coppola stuck to his guns, rightly so, obviously, as we see. But they were constantly battling. And in the aftermath of making Godfather 1 and Godfather 2, their relationship was so soured. They exchanged telegrams, and
oh, you got to read these.
I got to read some of these. So,
by the way, I would read them. I can't because my eyes.
So I'll start off with what Francis sent Robert at one point. He basically says, and I'll paraphrase this essentially. He basically says, "I've been a real gentleman regarding your claims of involvement on The Godfather. I've never talked about your throwing out Nina Rota music. You're barring the casting of Pacino and Brando." And then he later goes on to say, "You did nothing on The Godfather other than annoy me and slow it down." And basically, he went scorched.
Was this a thank you letter?
No.
Why
no.
I know, but why did he write this to begin with?
I think it was because Robert Evans might have been going around publicly kind of touting the fact that, like, oh, yeah, I helped make Godfather, whatever. So this was like a private message that Francis sent him, basically saying, you're a piece of shit, essentially. Robert Evans replied with like an even more scathing of a no. He says, "Dear Francis, thank you for your charming cable. I cannot imagine what prompted this venomous diatribe. I am both annoyed and exacerbated by your fallacious accusations when all I do is praise your extraordinary talents as a filmmaker." And you know, the full telegram can be read on our website, but like they exchanged and by the way, they speak very eloquently. Like even when they're exchanging jabs, they speak very eloquently, but like it's so clear that these guys,
you can tell how much they hate each other.
They hated each other. And to your point, Francis Ford Coppola never publicly thanked Robert Evans for his involvement
during his whole lifetime.
During his whole lifetime, even so at the height of The Godfather, when it was winning Best Picture and all this type of stuff. Robert Evans died a few years ago in 2019. Francis Ford Coppola did say some nice words about Robert Evans at that time. He said, I remember him as a good producer, et cetera, but he never said this. And that's why this moment at the Oscars was big. This is like cinephile shit. This is like movie lover stuff. You know what I mean? So it was like him finally bearing the hatchet, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro on each side of him.
But he's dead.
He is dead. So it just sort of like, a little too late.
Yeah.
A little late.
Okay, so we have 45 seconds left, Fabian. Pitch your podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a movie podcast, which again, this is the perfect day to do it on the heels of the Oscars. It's called TMZ Movie Crashers. We're going to be doing it once a week for now, and it's where we literally get into the weeds of movie news, So, everything movies you want to talk about and hear about. But the great thing is that we're doing it from a TMZ point of view with exclusive content, exclusive interviews, exclusive video. We're also teaming up with our sister website, toofab, to do it. And we're hopeful that you guys tune in and watch it because we're excited about it and it's going to be a lot of fun. So
And it's
I'm
called?
excited.
it's called the TMZ. It's called TMZ Movie Crashers, the TMZ Movie Crashers podcast. So check it out.
And by the way, one more thing.
Sure.
Tomorrow on TMZ Live, Bill Maher's coming on.
Oh, no
Really?
way.
Yep.
Oh my
He's going to
gosh.
talk about his new podcast. He wanted to do this kind of on the heels of the Oscars as well.
Yeah.
Got a couple of things I want to talk to him about.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
I bet you do.
I'm
gonna be
excited.
fun.
Oh my God.
Okay.
That's gonna be such a good interview.
I can't wait. We'll see you Wednesday, folks.
Bye.
All right, take it easy.